that you were
Thank you, Ciarán. And I want to second the proposal to amend the order of business by my colleague, Senator Mullen. I think what's happening here this morning, what Senator Mullen is proposing to do here next week in the House, is possibly far more important than what's going on in the two committee meetings that are taking place over the last today and yesterday. So I want to call on a debate with the Minister for Justice regarding the use of body cams and facial recognition technology. The government's handling of this will be extremely costly and will result in serious issues relating to data protection and the protection of civil liberties. In the press release issued by the Department of Justice, it stated that the Garda Commissioner will begin tendering for the purchases of body cams. This is putting the cart before the horse. We are spending a sizable amount of money on technology that we may or may not be able to use for a very long period of time. By the time the Gardaí will be able to use the body cams, the technology could be outdated. If we purchase body cams now, we might later find out they are incompatible with our legislation. According to the National Institute of Standards and Technology, facial recognition technology is only accurate 70% of the time, and it is often worse at identifying women and members of minority groups. In the US, the American Civil Liberties Union is taking cases for people who are wrongly identified. You can't call yourself anti-racist, progressive and liberal while at the same time enacting legislation that is anything but. I have talked to people in the Data Protection Commission who are very concerned about the compliance perspective. The press release says that it will only make use of images that the Gardaí are entitled to use, but the AI is trained on multiple samples. If this collects data that the Minister says will not be used, what is to stop someone else from accidentally using this data or someone else using it for a more nefarious end in the future? There is a tendency on the part of the Minister for Justice that whenever this is pointed out to her that something could be open to abuse, she has a stock response that goes along the lines of, this is not about racial profiling or mass surveillance, this is about helping the Gardaí to do their jobs. That quote appeared in The Independent. If the wording of her upcoming bill doesn't do what she says it's intended to do, she will need to change it. I don't think the Minister understands the consequences of the legislation she is trying to pass. At the very least, the upcoming bill should be subject to pre-legislative scrutiny. In closing, I will ask, is this good public procurement practice? What evidence gathered by this technology puts people at risk of unlawful arrest? Gardaí risk gathering inadmissible evidence. We also risk having the data being used for unlawful purposes. Can we please have a debate in the hopes of preventing another embarrassing piece of legislation being brought to this House? Thank you.
Sharon Keogan this morning has asked for a debate on the proposed use of body cams and the purchase of same by An Garda Síochána when the legislation hasn't even been drafted yet. So I will certainly see if I can get a response on that as well, if not a debate, to see if we can do that.